Well, hello and welcome back to The Broken Doll, and we're talking about the beginning of reborns, where they came from and how they developed into these wonderful dolls they are today. But the problem is, Ann Baby's in the way because we have to go back 100 years ago, and Ann Baby, you weren't here. Neither was I. So let's move. A lot of us weren't. So let's go. I think the only one I think of that's getting up there is Dick Van Dyke. He's going to be turning 100 next month. No, 2 months. In December sometime. But anyways, what doll came along during that time frame? Well, nothing but the Bilo Baby. Here is my bisque Bilo Baby. And she is gorgeous. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set her up here like this. Let's do this with her. I'm going to turn the camera in a second. And then we're going to take her and we're going to move her like this. We can do this with her. I want her to fall. She falls. Oh my goodness, we're talking about head clunking glass. Okay, glass hitting the glass, and that leads to breakage. Okay, let's just do this here. Let's talk about these wonderful little baby girls here. I'm going to bring up this camera up on them. Oh, let's talk about Grace S. Putnam. Oh, I love the Bilo Baby. Now, these are bisque. I didn't bring out my composition list, but I did bring out my bisque. She looks like she could use a nice clean, both of them. They've been covered with a blanket because I have a cat that likes to jump and sleep in the buggies, in the prams and buggies and all that stuff. But anyways, there they are. Oh my goodness, Grace S. Putnam. Well, I read 2 accounts about Grace S. Putnam. Hang on a minute. Keys are in the way. There we go. All right, Grace S. Putnam was an artist, and one of the things that happened to her was she had some small children. And I read 2 accounts. Either her husband divorced her, or I also heard that he had died. Whatever the case may be, she was without a husband. And so she went with her brother, and what she did was she drew up a doll. And she took the artwork to a doll manufacturer, and they said, make us one that we can actually see. So she did, and she brought it, and the men gathered around. Now remember, this was where men were involved in the toy industry. There was very few women, if there were any at all. They might have done the hair and clothed them and painted and all that other stuff, but I'm talking about designing. That didn't fall in the fact of that didn't fall into the place of women being, like, women didn't have a place in that area. And so anyways, but they were breaking their way in. So anyways, they weren't going to be held back, which is great. But the thing is, along comes this woman, Grace S. Putnam. She shows it, and she makes up a prototype of the doll that she wants to make to help support her and her children. So anyways, the men gathered around the doll and they said, oh, no, that doll looks too real. Now, you got to go back to 1920. You're not looking at today's doll. Take your mind off the dolls of today. Go back 100 years ago. In that day of 1920s, this doll was as realistic as you could get. And so anyways, I was going to say something, but I held back. They said, no, that ain't happening. So she thought, what am I going to do? And where did she get the sculpt from? Well, she went to an orphanage and she sculpted the doll from a 5-day, 1-week-old baby. And so baby girl. And so anyways, they didn't like it. Nope, they said too realistic. So anyways, she thought, what am I going to do? I got this nice little doll I'd like to make, but I can't. Well, the next thing you know is, she thought, well, I'm going to take it to the women. So she took it to the women. Now, what kind of women would you take it to? Well, she took it to women who were young, who wanted to have children. She also took it to a little bit older women who lost children through childbearing. And they held the doll. Some cried because of the child they lost. Some yearned because they couldn't have children. Some were anticipating because they were going to be married soon. And the younger girls just swooned over it because it was a baby. You know, little girls loved their baby dolls. Older women came along and they remembered the babies that they did have. So it reached the hearts of many women in different ways, like reborns do today. So because of that, she said, will you come with me and help me get this doll produced? Oh, they said, surely we will. And they did. They marched. They gathered together and they said, make this doll. I don't know if they said that, but, you know. make it. You know, that type of thing, you know. I think they said, you know, they probably said, you know, we want this doll made, we like it. And so the men said, oh, well, okay then, we love everything about it. It just was unbelievable, they thought. So the men made it. And what happened to Grace S. Putnam? Everybody loved her doll. Now, it did scare some people. They said, oh, it's too realistic. Oh, is that ever realistic? It looks like a real baby. Well, she gave it little froggy legs, like this one has, and the other one has it just as well. Little froggy legs. That's one reason how you'll know you have a Grace S. Putnam doll. This right here will tell you Grace S. Putnam, but there's other things as well. She usually stamped the doll's body. Not all bodies, but most of them were stamped. Let's see if she has a stamp. This one does not have a stamp. We'll take a look at the other one here. Let's see if she has a stamp on her body. Oh, she's so covered up. I don't see one on her either. Look at, she's got freckled body. Sometimes it's on the back of them. Now, it is on the back of their necks, Grace S. Putnam. But we're looking for the stamp. Does she have a stamp on her? No, neither one of these have the stamp. Like I said, some do, some don't. Now, the first heads were made in Germany and were bisque. So you know you've got the first original older ones when you got the bisque heads. They have celluloid hands or composition hands. This one has celluloid hands. This one here, we've lost her little hands in the gown. Let's see. She also has celluloid hands. Celluloid was an early plastic made out of petroleum gasoline. So you have to be careful around the sun. And many houses, not many, I shouldn't say many, but it's been known for homes to go up in flame because of a doll sitting in the window made of celluloid, even little hands such as this, because let's remember the day again. We're going back 100 years ago. What were beds made out of? They were made of straw, believe it or not, they were, or feathers. And you got dry old wood in the homes, and it probably heated with wood, with fire as well. So you might have a doll and a sun shining through, magnifies it onto the doll, and can start a bed on fire, which could then, if not caught in time, could spread through the house, you know, and the house could go up in flames. It has been known. I'm not going to say many houses, that was wrong, but it has been known for that to happen. What has really been more known to happen for the hands to melt and get sticky and collapse. So out here, for the little bit of time it's going to be out, won't hurt it. Celluloid is more than fine in your home if you keep it away from the sun, you know, direct sunlight and things like that. I've got many celluloid dolls, and I don't have them in direct sunlight, and they're wonderful to collect. Don't fear it, but understand it. That's what I say. And so anyways, these early heads were made in Germany. Then composition heads came out. I do have some composition bilos as well. This is one of my favorite dolls. And among many other people out there, they love this doll. So anyways, they came with blue eyes and brown eyes, which my dolls also have both colored eyes, you know. Some have blue, some have brown. There was another one that came out called the Flylo, which I would like to get, but it's a little bit of this. And I'm more than sure one day one will fall right near me. It will come in my pathway, and I'll buy one. I also want the doll, the advertising doll, with the head that's shaped like an orange. I know you may not think it's out there, but it is. There's a head, and the head has got an orange on top of it, and it's an advertising doll for some type of orange juice company. But anyhow, it was made back in the 1920s. Made out of composition, and I don't care if it's in crappy condition. I would love to paint that doll orange, that head. I would love to learn how to do that. But anyways, that's beside the point. Let's get back on track here. But this is a wonderful doll to collect. Now, you can find bilos pretty cheap still. You can find them at a good price. Now, sometimes even these bisque babies can go for a nice, nice price. They can also go here. I've seen some go surprisingly really cheap. Even these as big as her, I have seen. This is the biggest you'll get, is her right here. And I didn't pay a whole lot for her. I just wait for the deals to come, and you can find them. But yeah, both of these came to me rather inexpensive, and you can find them out there. And you just got to wait for them, and they do show up in and you can adorn your collection with these wonderful old dolls. Bilos are still quite available out there at different prices. They're all over the place, and again, condition will tell you what you're going to pay. And so, not always. I'm going to make myself into a liar with what I just said, because sometimes people will have a beautiful bilo and they'll just ask $50 for it regardless. Or you might be able to pick one up in an estate sale or a yard sale. You never know. Now, one thing about this doll, It still is being made today, 100 years later, and this doll can be still found today in, if you want to take ceramic classes, you can make this doll, a Bilo baby, but it will have her name on it, Grace S. Putnam, and you can put your, she came out in 1924, but you can put your name on the back because you painted it and you dressed it and you stuffed its body. You know, you can, she came out in vinyl, and yeah, so she was being made for a lot of years. From what I know today, she still is being made in different forms, like I say, ceramic classes and things like that. I don't know if she's on a manufacturing type list. I've seen dolls come close to her. I have one that I'm going to be restoring that has the look. A lot of you can look at them and go, boy, you're close to a Bilo doll, and you came out at the same time. And I've got some that are like that. And I'll be showing them as I restore them, and we'll talk about that again. But they're not as realistic as this lovely little lady is right here. And there is a picture of Grace S. Putnam with the little orphan girl at 5 years of age, and she's been given a doll of herself. I thought that was just sweet and wonderful. But anyways, where does this tie into the reborn world again? This is the beginning of the realistic doll trying to get that. And here's the thing. Grace S. Putnam was making a doll that looked real and everything. But I don't know, now this is me speaking, everybody might have a different opinion, but I don't think she was doing it on purpose. I think because she didn't know about reborns, you know, or that she was going to play a part in the reborn world. But she made a doll that, yeah, it was realistic. It came from a real baby, you know, she was sculpting this real baby. So of course it's going to have some realism to it. But that's, I think, as far as she went with it. You can tell it's still a doll, but it's just some of the features were very realistic to a newborn baby. But where she played a part on it in today of getting that ball rolling, she fell into it innocently, I think, where today we're looking at wanting more and more and more, where we are now with the real, where there are dolls being taken from, like reborn babies, they're called real babies or something like that, and they're right from real newborn babies. You know, what she did back then is what and she could only use the materials that were available to her back then, wood and bisque. Today we have the silicone, the vinyls, the softer vinyls and everything, and they can make these dolls, and people who study the art and are really they're fantastic with it, making these dolls look so realistic that you can't, like I said, I've had problems wondering if they're real or not. So here we are, this lady who started this unknowingly to her what part she was going to play today, 100 years later, and here she is, we're mentioning her and with the reborn dolls today. Isn't that fantastic? Where a lot of our doll artists, where they wind up and where they have taken us, and the journey that their dolls played in us wanting more and more and more and better and better and better and better. And I think we've just done wonderful with it. But it's the road that we travel. And now Ann Baby comes along, you know, about 50-something years, 60 years later, 50-something years later, and now we got Ann Baby here in 1979 and 1980. So we have her coming along, and she gets in on the picture just as well. And now if we had a reborn sitting here, the reborn could get in on this from realistic 1920s, 1979, 80, and then today, 2025. You get what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm trying to portray here. Okay, well, don't fall, girl. Glass with glass. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I delighted you all, that you got something out of this. And I am going to call this quits because, we're still doing pretty good here. But I think we'll call it quits here. I think we touched on this quite nicely. I hope that opened your world and let you explore another side of your reborn dolls, and just where did they come from? Not out of the sky. It came from a history of people wanting more and more, and a woman who fell into it unknowingly, you know, where she was going to be today mentioned and compared to the realistic dolls today. Wonderful, snap as they say. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for sitting and listening to me on this wonderful subject here. And there'll be more and more of this as we go along, and we'll be talking about this again, because there's going to be other realistic dolls that will be coming along the way from back in this time period that kind of have that real look too. So again, thank you for joining me. To all my subscribers, thank you for dropping in, and leave me a comment if you like what you hear here today. Give me a thumbs up as well. A like is always appreciated. It helps with my algorithms, as they say. I don't know what that all means. Beyond me. All I know is I love putting these doll videos on here for everybody to, that we could all learn together. So thanks again. If you get your hands on some doll readers, pick them up at your, wherever you can find them. All right, thanks for joining me. And to Liz from All Things Fairy, I'd like to know what that has to say about Ann Baby in the doll reader when you get your copy in. Thanks again. Bye-bye.